Hi, this is Elliot Fishman. Let's see. Hopefully I'm not 20 seconds early. It looks like it's at high noon. Let me just check my clock here. Yep, it's high noon. So I wanted to welcome everybody to this latest Facebook Live, and I hope all of you, whether you're in the U.S. or overseas or anywhere in between, are doing well. I know these are the most difficult of times. I think even Mark Twain, when said the best of times, worst of times, I think he didn't think about how worse things could be. Um, I'm home today. You could see this is I like to blame my kids for this room, but this is all my good stuff. You can see a lot of my toys in the background and things people have signed over the years, and 3D imaging with Pixar and all those really good stuff. And someday maybe I'll show you a little bit more. But I thought I would just share with you some of the things we're thinking about, perhaps you're thinking about. I did not want to do a COVID-19 one more talk in the sense that there's so much online, I think, on CTisus. We are telling you places to go which have really good content, and that content's being updated, whether it's from a clinical perspective or radiology perspective, or what's just being done. I mean, every day there are things people are doing. There's a thing, I'm a New England Patriot fan, but the owner of the Patriots sent a Patriot jet to China where they got permission to land for 3 hours because he was friends with someone. And they got 1 million masks and 95s and brought them back. 700,000 to Boston and 300,000 to New York. So that was really a very good thing. So a lot of people are doing things. Now, I don't know how long this whole craziness is going to go on. I think most of you have, heard the president through the end of April. I guess, you may hope that things can turn around a bit, but we're probably talking about May, June before anything realistically does happen. One of the things that you think about, and this is true with any, maybe not disaster, but any big change, any big momentous thing, there are things that never go back to the way they were. You think about 9/11, many things happened after 9/11, but if you remember, and barely you can, before 9/11, you went to the airport, you walked to the gate with whoever you were with, you dropped them off, or you waited at the gate to pick them up. And then, of course, we had security, and things have never been quite the same. So there's some things that change. Some things change a little bit and then go back. I think you're going to see, as we know, reported today, and it's going to be reported, unemployment will keep going up to some really astronomical numbers. And it's not just going to be at Disneyland or the restaurant down the street or the movie theater, but it's going to be felt in medicine and radiology as well. If you close down a lot of private offices, volumes down substantially, people will be laid off or furloughed. And the good news is, hopefully when things get better, everyone will be rehired. So that may just be a pain, and it will be pain for many people, but it will be sort of transitory, I hope. But there's some things, I think, that are not going to be transitory, because when things change, they often never go back to the way they were. So I scribbled down about 6 things that I think will not change, will change, but never go back to the way they were. And that's perhaps what I'm going to talk about today. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask them as we go along. I'm happy to stop and answer any questions from anybody. But the first thing is education. I've been running CME courses for 37 years for Hopkins, and the attendance over the last 5 to 10 years has dropped. We still get reasonably decent attendance at Hopkins. Many courses I've gone to where I've spoken for many years used to get 300 people and they get 30. Now, CME has changed in part because of online, because of people not willing to travel and time off and family and all these different reasons. But I think perhaps the death knell for all of the meetings will be this, because people will not have, I know myself, I probably had 15 meetings canceled between March and the fall. I have a feeling that it's going to be really hard. It's going to take a lot for people to get on a plane to go to a meeting. Forget the finances, but just the safety and everything else and the concern. And if we get a vaccine, maybe that'll change. People will feel more comfortable going to Disneyland, perhaps. But I do believe that people will not be going back to the courses. My grandson, who's 3.5, a bit over 3.5, is doing Zoom for his class lessons. Now, I'm not saying the kindergarten and first graders are going to be doing things from home, because that's not what you want to do. You want the social integration. And we know the colleges and medical schools, students listen remotely. People don't go to class. But now it's going to be a structure and a restructuring of all of these things. I think there's no doubt remote learning has been never bigger impetus, and I think it's not going to go away. It's not going to be turned on and turned off. So I think the whole process of CME, the web, education, everything like that. I know at CTisus, now obviously we have a great business model. We sell nothing and charge nothing, but our volumes, which are always very high, are substantially higher than normal. Not a surprise. The second thing is loyalty. People, it's a tough generational thing. People who are older, or maybe that's a bad way of putting it, but generationally, people were loyal, whether it was to brands or to employers. If you said you changed jobs 5 times, you told that to my grandmother, she would have thought that you were a terrible person and you couldn't hold a job. Now, younger people work a couple of years, they move to the next job and then to the next job. So, and it may be a sign of being incredible, not a sign of being incompetent. Nobody wants you. But I think what people are going to learn in this period of time, some companies are doing their best not to lay people off. Some people are laying people off. Some people, like Arnie Sorensen in Marriott, has really done his best and is doing his best to keep everybody attached, whether it's through insurance and everything. Now, you can't have people being paid for things they're not doing for months and months. There's no cash flow. And executives like him have said, well, I'm not taking a salary this year. So I think companies that do the best they can, it doesn't mean you can't be laying people off or furloughing people. The reality is that there's no cash inflow. If the restaurants are closed, you can't be paying everyone forever. But I think people will learn loyalty, particularly when loyalty always seems to be a one-way street. People are going to remember who treated them well, who treated people well, and who treated people poorly. You'll notice that the Googles of the world and the Facebooks and the Amazons and the Nvidias and the Apples are hiring, to my knowledge, not laying people off. So this will be important later on. I think it's going to be very important. Again, I'm not saying you can't lay people off. Sometimes you have to. That's the best you can do because you have to save the company. But it's how you do things and how people think you do things that become very important. And I think that's something that will not go away. I say, Scott, the need for CME will continue just as the delivery system has changed and it's continually changing. I think CME is incredibly important. I meant where you go for the CME, whether you're doing online versus in person. Taquin mentioned we're issued surgical masks and the brown bag to keep the mask for use and replaced every 3 days. I think a challenge, and I'm not a I&D expert, and many places have done different things. I think these are, we're at war, I think is really a way of thinking about it. And so things that we probably would not have done 3 weeks ago, we're doing today. Is it the right thing? It's not the way you would want to do it if you could, perhaps, but it is the right thing because you have no choice. So I think it's a balancing act, and I know it's very hard. Hopefully over the next few weeks, I mentioned about the New England Patriots. It's 1 million masks. 1 million is a small number. It sounds like a big number, but it's a small number, particularly in a place like New York, or Boston. But on the other hand, it's a start, and every day I think we're getting better at doing those things. It's interesting, one of the things that you read about just a month ago was how the government was looking at Google and Amazon and Facebook and Microsoft and Apple at breaking up big companies. Well, the one thing you're going to learn, and we're learning, it's those big companies, because they're able to connect, is why we're still in the game. Amazon is delivering everything. People who never used Amazon are using Amazon. People like myself who used Amazon for just here and there, maybe sending gifts, now have water or stuff delivered by Amazon, so I don't have to go to the store and buy it. Okay? So, but it's the fact that Amazon is able to control the delivery systems, they're able to store and distribute and maintain that. It's just astounding. Imagine you broke up Amazon and you couldn't move things from point A to point B. We'd be dead, okay? Now, I don't own Amazon stock, but I'm telling you. The same thing on the internet. Think of the companies that do the internet, the Googles of the world, the ability to communicate information, whether it's us on Facebook Facebook Live or just Facebook telling you things and getting the information to you quickly, or the fact that Dave Blumke in radiology can publish articles which you see online and you can read and you can copy, and no one mailed in the submissions. It was done via the web, and the companies that really keep the web going. I looked at Zoom now. Again, it's a publicly held company, but they've gone from 10 million users a month to 200 million, and yet everything seems to be working. Now, if you break the companies into little pieces that work for Baltimore or for New York or for Chicago, LA, whatever, it won't help. You need the connectivity. You need these major companies. And I think when all the dust is settled, you're going to look at the Googles and the Nvidias and the Apples and the Facebooks and many other companies, the Qualcomms, and all you're going to say is thank you for being you. Those people are working. Many of them are at home, but they're all working through this crisis, and they're looking at improving things and making things better. So that becomes very, very important for everybody to know. There is just no doubt about it. Connectivity. I think, we at times, the world's a big place, and we know things are more connected. If you're Disney, you're releasing a movie, you make a bunch of money in the US, but you make a bunch of money in China and Europe and Australia, so the world is connected. But I don't think till this flu, this COVID-19, we really realize how connected we are. We talk about global warming and how we need to work together, and that doesn't seem to be going all that well, though I have to admit, with COVID-19, global warming, hey, the car usage is down, the oil usage is down, so I don't know, maybe it's a way of fixing global warming, but I think the thing to remember is this whole disaster started in a market in a city in Wuhan, China. Now, normally you would say, why do we care about a market? I don't care about a market in downtown Baltimore. I don't care about a market in West Baltimore, East Baltimore. You care about the market you shop in, maybe. But no. A market thousands and thousands of miles away from us, which we will never visit and don't particularly care about or ever heard of. One of a million markets in the world. From there, the flu started because of dealing with animals, and we won't go through that, but that market has infected the entire world. Hundreds of thousands of people will die because of something that happened in an obscure market far away. And it tells us that as we look forward, we need to be very careful. Disease can start anywhere. You could build fences and you could build borders and you could have oceans around you, but the disease doesn't stop. It doesn't stop from getting to Australia and Japan and the US and every place in between. And of course, connectivity with airplanes and trains and open borders and the like. So it does make the point that we are a connected world. And I think people are going to look at things differently as we go forward. I think another thing that always comes up in crisis is leadership or lack of leadership. Just to stay on the positive side, Mario Cuomo, who's the governor of New York, who always has a lot of plus and minuses about him, people will say, but he is the right person for the right time because he knows how to deal with a crisis. He's calm, he's analytical, he's makes you feel that someone is on top of things. And I think, I know he always wanted to run for president. I'm sure he's not going to be, but one would have to say, for this moment in time, the two people who really look big are him and Bill Gates. Bill Gates, I posted this, not a CT TED talk, but a TED talk on this viruses a couple years ago, predicted this pandemic. And Bill Gates has been logical as how we can prevent it and logical how we can deal with the current crisis and get through it. The importance of vaccines and discovery. We have everybody, the tech companies, the biotech companies, the institutions. We just need a little bit of luck that things go faster. The FDA is on top of it. So we need to not rush and create a bigger problem than we solve. But again, leadership is everything. And I think leadership is particularly clear in crises. I mean, think about Fauci, right? I mean, He's been around forever, very well known. I've read his work for many years, but he became a household name. He's a really short guy. Now he's a really big guy because he is the voice of reason. The president listens to him. He's logical. He's scientific. The scientific community trusts him. And he's doing the best he can looking at a situation that we don't know the answers to. And finally, finances. I think you look at the stock market, many people do, and you see your earnings. You spend many years building. It always does make the point that it's very easy to build. It's very easy for it to go down. One of the things I think that people will always remember is nothing is without risk. And on February 18th, probably everybody's 401k was as high as it's ever been. And that's when you had the most money you ever had. And then days later, it was the reverse. Now, hopefully things will come out and things will get back to normal, though it may take a long time to make that happen. So let's see. If you have any questions, now's a good time. Mental health, okay, you, Scott. Mental health is going to need a lot of attention in addition to the ongoing containment of COVID-19. I think it's true. I think people are not meant to stay at home. There's only so much you can stay at home. There's only so much cleaning you could do at home. And there's so much home cooking you could do. People are social creatures, and staying home, particularly for many people, is going to be very difficult. And we need to stay home. Watch TV, watch Netflix, go to YouTube. We have people like I posted on CTisus, Paul Simon singing a song every other day or so from his own home, showing that he's in quarantine using an iPhone and singing his heart out. So it's not an easy thing, and it's not going to be an easy thing. And every day you can't tell the days apart, so it does become a challenge. I see Liliana's here. Liliana's in Palo Alto, so I hope she's doing well. And California's, doing well also. Again, hopefully they will continue to do well. Let's see, what else? Those are the main questions. So I think what we'll do is CTisus. We are keeping going. For whatever reason, I recorded lectures for many, many months before, and Hannah's working on them, so we'll still have our new lectures every Monday. The quizzes we recorded for a few months, so we should be back in business there. We're putting up the pearls, we're putting up everything. So I think CTisus, in fact, is developing more material, not less material. So hopefully we'll keep you educated, we'll keep you informed, and we'll keep you entertained. So with that, I also, let me show you one thing. This is because, in case you didn't believe me, here's my Taylor Swift, I Love Elliot. A very younger Taylor Swift. She wasn't probably that smart in those days, but SNL, that's like, oh my God, a lifetime ago. Anyway, I hope everybody's safe and stay safe, and I hope you're doing well, and we'll see you next time. Bye.